Ladies and gentlemen, the following podcast is set for one episode. Your host from Columbus, Ohio, is Michael Kirk. Welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast. Hello and welcome to the Outlaw Mudcast, your digital audio dirt sheet for all things Super Show. And the big news this week out of SRG Universe is the hardcore tournament cards have been spoiled. More information about the hardcore tournament has been released. We do not know all the competitors that will be available in the hardcore tournament except for Sabu and possibly, and I would say likely, Tommy Dreamer for a few reasons. Number one, they revealed a logo a few weeks back that appears to be a logo with the name Tommy Dreamer on it. And there's another bit of evidence I'll get into in a little bit. But they did spoil the hardcore tournament, release more information about that. The hardcore tournament is a 6-player tournament, draft format similar to the Bird Cage. The first round will consist of 3 singles matches. So each of the 6 players will pair up, and each player will pick a stipulation. There are 4 stipulation sets in this match, in this tournament set. 3 of them already exist. The tables, ladders, and steel chains stipulation, the table stipulation, the steel chain stipulation, and new with this set, the ladder stipulation. So in the singles match, and I'll go on, the rules will probably be established further in the set, but basically you'll have essentially drafting. Certain draft picks will be able to pick competitors first, and certain other draft picks will be able to pick stipulations. And so it'll be a tables, ladders, or steel chain stipulation, pick one for each of the singles, and then the winners of the singles will face each other in a triple threat TLC, tables, ladders, and steel chains match. So I'm going to go through the cards they've spoiled and highlight some of the new ones, because a lot of the cards in the draft set are cards that already exist, but there are some brand new ones I want to point out and talk about, because I think they're going to be quite interesting for the game. So let's go ahead and dive into that, get started on the spoilers. So let's start with a brand new entrance card, the LFF Hardcore Title Belt. It features a picture of the current title belt, and has the same text as we've been using for the Hardcore Championship. At the start of the match, search your deck for one card with table, ladder, or steel chain in the name, and add it to your hand. Your strike skill is +1. For those of you who have seen that card before, it's nothing different, and then I believe it just has the customary text about if you win by pinfall submission, the card changes hands. So there's 6 cards in each slot, 1 through 27, because obviously we'll be using the 28, 29, 30 with the competitor you draft. Most of them are going to be new. Most of them are going to be cards that previously exist, but there'll be new ones. For example, in the 1 slot, I'll just read off what's in the 1 slot. Cheap Shot, Ladder, Leapfrog, Lift the Boot, Punch, and Snap Punch. Now, of course, 4 of those already exist. The 2 new ones are going to be Cheap Shot and Lift the Boot. Cheap Shot says very simply your opponent buries 1 card in their hand. Lift the Boot says shuffle 1 card from your discard pile into your deck. Very simple effects. I can tell you as someone who plays the Hurricane, Shane Helms, cards like Lift the Boot are going to be very interesting. People who play Burial decks, cards like Cheap Shot are going to be interesting. So there's a Cheap Shot, which is the one where your opponent buries your card in your hand. There's a grapple version of that, charge into the corner at number 2, and a submission version of that, face rake at number 3. For the Lift the Boot, Standoff is the grapple version, and Eye Gouge is a submission version. Again, very simple cards. I can see people playing these for various, like I say, if you have a gimmick that revolves around shuffling your deck or making your opponent bury, I can see people playing these. Also, some nice keywords in there. Lift Boot's going to be nice for somebody like TJ Marconi. Face Rake's going to be nice for somebody like Prince of Fashion. These also feature this deck's also going to have all the table, ladders, and chain cards in it, which makes it very good. Those cards previously have only been promo cards, and they're a bit harder to get. So it's nice to be able to get a full set in one set. Now I don't know how much this set's going to be. I know that the Birdcage currently on the SRG website is only $150. This could be just as much. This could be more. I do not know. They have essentially said that it's going to be surprisingly less than what we think. So maybe this thing will be around $100. If it's less than $100, that could be just incredible. But it's supposed to be coming out sometime, quote, during the holidays. This could be a Black Friday release. This could be a December release. We really don't know yet. But that's the 1 through 6s. 7, 8s, and 9s. The two new ones at 7 are Body Shot and Thumb to the Eye. Body Shot says your next turn roll is +1. If your agility skill is greater than your opponent's agility skill, your next turn roll is +2 instead. This to me is the agility version of, I believe it's Double Chop, is the one where it has strike instead of agility. The other one, Thumb to the Eye, says draw 1 card. If your agility skill is greater than your opponent's agility skill, draw 2 cards instead. They're nice. In the grapple slot, you have Power Up, which does the same thing as Thumb to the Eye, but it's power instead. And you have Throw into the Post, which does the same thing as Body Shot, except it's also power. And then finally, in the submissions, the number 9 slot, you have Jaw Wrench, which does the same thing as the Body Shot, but it's technique. And Work Over, which does the same thing as the Thumb to the Eye, but it's also technique. So it looks like they're just taking the cards that already exist that are strike, grapple, and submission and creating the power, agility, and technique versions of those cards. So solid choices. 10, 11, 12. There doesn't appear to be anything new in the 10, 11, 12. Again, you are getting copies of all the steel chain cards in the 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, 12 slot. I will mention this, even when I'm saying there's nothing new. When I'm saying there's nothing new like card-wise. Most of these cards have alt art. These are alt art versions of what already exists. So you are at least getting new artwork, even if the cards are the same. 13, 14, 15. There are 3 new cards in the 13 through 15 slots. Each one is a stop. I'll start with the follow-up strike at number 13, Swinging and Dinging. It says, your next turn roll is +1. If your agility skill is at least 2 greater than your opponent's agility skill, stop any grapple. The number 14 card is Dangerous Slam. Your next turn roll is +1. If your power skill is at least 2 greater than your opponent's power skill, stop any submission. And the number 15, the submission stop, is going to be Trap in the Corner. Your next turn roll is +1. If your technique skill is at least 2 greater than your opponent's technique skill, stop any strike. Will these cards replace things like Single Leg Crab, Falling Power Slam, Kick into the Corner? In singles, I would say no. To me, where these cards are going to be great is in Tornado Tag. Because, especially now that we're going to more printed Tornado Tags, if your technique's 20, unless your opponent also has a technique of 20, this card is going to work. It's going to give you +1 your next turn roll, and it's going to let you stop the strike. This is in the case of Trap in the Corner. In the case of Swinging and Dinging, if you've got an agility of 20, this is going to let you stop grapples. Again, I guess unless your opponent's agility is also 20, I didn't say anything. If you've got a power of 20, this is going to let you stop submissions unless your opponent also has a power of 20. So to me, where these are going to shine is going to be in Tornado Tag. And probably in a trio as well, because you're going to be at least 3 greater in trios. So to me, these are perfect. Now, as far as I can tell, none of these are skill requirement cards. I'm not seeing the skill requirement card on any of these symbols, on any of these cards, which kind of makes sense because it is a draft. So that makes these even stronger. But to me, yeah, those cards might be okay in singles, but they're going to be great in Tornado Tag and Trios. 16, 17, and 18. Again, I'm not seeing anything new here. These cards all look like they previously exist. You are going to be able to get a set of the new reroll cards, which I believe at this point have only been available in a set as part of the, I believe it was the Freak Show faction pack. So you'll be able to get the rerolls here, which is nice. 19 through 21. Not really seeing anything new here. I take that back. We've got some new stops. And strike, number 19, we have the Trash, Bash, Smash. Follow-up strike. If your opponent has another grapple in play, stop any grapple. Each player buries one card in their hand. Right away, I see because this has trash in it, this is going to work with the Mad Custodian's gimmick. The number 20 version of that is going to be the Pile Driver. Follow-up grapple. If your opponent has another submission in play, stop the submission. Each player buries one card. I almost don't see any reason not to play these, just because, as long as they're not skills, just because, it's going to do the same thing that Elbow Strikes, Neckbreaker, Leg Lock does, but gives you the additional berry for no additional cost. That's very strong. And also, I'll bring this up now with the Pile Driver. The gentleman delivering the Pile Driver in the art for the Pile Driver appears to be Tommy Dreamer, which is the second clue that Tommy Dreamer may be one of the competitors in this set. And then, of course, the Crash and Burn is the fall of submission in the 21 slot. If your opponent has another strike and play stop the strike, each player buries one card in their hand. Again, actually, let me revise my earlier statement. Because each player has to bury a card in their hand, you may not want to do that. For some reason, I read that and I saw that as your opponent buries one card in their hand. That doesn't make. Which, if that was the case, absolutely no question, no brainer, you play this card. With it being each player buries a card in their hand, it's going to be situational. It's going to be up to you. But it's an interesting option to have. So, apologize for my earlier statement. I disagree with myself from 2 minutes ago. It's going to be situational. Now, in the 22 through 24 slots, I'm not seeing anything new now. Of course, you're getting the setup, the ladders, which are great. You're also getting the tag team cards, the double knee drop, the suplex slam, and the headlock kick. Which those are the cards where your opponent buries two cards in their hand. If this is a tag team match, draw one card. Which are great cards to back in tag team decks. One of the few cards that specifically worked in tag team decks. And because the word tag team, the two words tag team aren't in the grayish black text, you can use those cards in Tornado Tag and they will work. Sorry, in multiplayer tag, not Tornado Tag. Of course you can use them in Tornado Tag. You can also use those cards in multiplayer tag and they will allow you to draw when you play it. You also have the three cards that I've seen a lot of people play. They're very popular. The Leaping Lariat, Rolling Suplex, and the Rib Buster. These three cards each say the same thing. They're strike, grapple, submission. Flip two cards. Add two strike, grapple, or submission depending on which version of the card you're playing. From your discard pile to your hand or draw one card. They're very good. 25 through 27. The new cards here are in the 25 Backsplash, in the 26 Demolition Suplex, and in the 27 King's Clutch. So each of these will, instead of allowing you to stop a finish, they allow you to stop any follow-up, grapple if it's the strike card, submission if it's the grapple card, strike if it's the submission card. And you add one card from your discard pile to your hand. So you're giving up a guaranteed stop any or stopped finish to get a stop follow-up. But you are allowed to add a card from your discard to your hand. This is interesting in this format for a couple reasons. Number one, it's great to get a finish back. Number two, especially in the TLC, the tables, ladders, and chains stipulation, at a certain point, follow-ups trigger finish rolls. So this may be just as good when you get up to, say, crowd meter 4, crowd meter 3. This may be just as good as a finish in certain situations, as a finish stop in certain situations. So I think these are very interesting cards. I don't know if I would play them personally, but I think they're very interesting cards. And then let me go through the ladder stipulation, since that's the brand new stipulation. I'll go through each crowd meter card at the very start. It's a no disqualification, no count out, max hand size 10 card. At the start of the match, you may search your deck for one card with ladder in the name and put it in your discard pile. When you do not have a card with ladder in the name in play, your opponent gets one additional breakout roll. That roll is +3. So very interesting. That's almost it's saying you pretty much have to use, you need to almost have a ladder card in play, because otherwise it's going to be very easy for your opponent to break out. And then at level 1, the breakout roll decreases. The text on that is when you do not have a card with ladder in the name in play, your opponent gets one additional breakout roll. That rolls +2, so the bonus decreases. At level 2, finish rolls are +1. When you don't have a card with ladder in the name in play, your opponent gets one additional breakout roll. That rolls +2. So the breakout roll bonus stays the same, but the finish roll goes up starting at level 2. At level 3, the finish roll goes up to +2, but everything remains the same. At level 4, the finish roll goes up to +3, but everything remains the same. And at level 5, the finish roll goes up to +4, and everything remains the same. So there is no +5 to your finish rolls like in a lot of matches. And your opponent will get the +2 bonus to the finish roll when you don't have a card with ladder in the name in play. Which I believe that's the first time that mechanic has been in the game, so it's very interesting. Quite like that. And that is going to be it for what is in the new set they've released that I want to talk about. I'm really looking forward to that set coming out. I'm hoping to be able to pick it up when it comes out. I'm obviously looking forward to getting some new competitors. I'm assuming it's going to be... assuming it has to be 6 competitor sets in it. Now, how many of those are going to be fixed, and how many of those are going to be random? I don't know. How many of those are going to be licensed competitors like a Sabu, and how many of those are going to be original to the format? I don't know. But I'm very intrigued by the set. I'm quite pleased because some of the art that I can tell you some of the art that got used, some of the new art, was actually art, at least in 2 cases, was art from my competitor, DJ Outlaw, that did not make the cut. So it's quite nice to see that get used. I believe it's used. There's 2 of the leads in the 1 through 6 that feature that art. So I'm quite happy to see that art is getting used. So if you see some DJ Outlaw art in the first few slots, those were rejected finish arts. So it's nice to see them getting used somewhere. So that's going to be it for the new releases. Let's talk about the events coming up. Of course, the big event coming up is PAX Unplugged. That is going to be in just 2 weeks. The weekend of December 6th through 8th. SRG has also announced that they're going to have their year-end award show. It's going to be on the night of the 5th, the Thursday night before PAX Unplugged. Not sure who's up for awards, not sure what awards are going to come out, but I'm interested to see who ends up getting those. That's only a couple weeks away. As far as I know, they're still having space issues. I had reported that last week that they're going to be struggling to find player space. They actually have posted trying to get a head count of who is going to be coming so they can try to find some space. The awards will also be off-site. They haven't announced where those will be, but they'll be off-site. I do not know if the show is up for best podcast. If it is, I hope we win. And if it is, I hope they give it to me and my former co-host, Nathan Wagner. I mean, even though he's no longer part of the show, he still contributed greatly to the podcast over the course of the year. If we receive any sort of award, he deserves to be included in that. That's PAX Unplugged. That's the news coming out of PAX Unplugged. There's also going to be an event on the West Coast. There's a team that's going to be in place representing SRG, and I believe, I'm not too familiar with what's going on, but I believe it is a New Japan Pro Wrestling event that'll be on the West Coast, so looking forward to that. And then, of course, they just announced the week after PAX Unplugged, the 14th of December, a Saturday, 3 Saturdays away from now as I record this on the 24th. Titan Game Shop in Hopewell, Pennsylvania, the home of City of Champions Wrestling, is hosting. And this has been upgraded. It was going to be a create a card competition. It's now going to be a create a competitor competition. $15 entrance fee. And if you win the tournament, you will be able to create your own competitor. I believe it's going to be prizing for the top 8. I'm really looking forward to this event. Now, I was always planning on going, even just when it was create a card. Kind of missed the create a card aspect. I mean, create a competitor is always great. There's nothing wrong with create a competitor, especially, I'd say next to FreeCon, this is the cheapest entrance fee for a create a competitor tournament. But I don't know, man. Create a card kind of would have been interesting. Again, somebody still has to do a create a card tournament. We don't have one now, but I think a smaller create a card tournament would be very interesting to have. But I'm looking forward to going out. Speaking of CCW, which of course homes to the Moneymakers, Stephen Hines, and the big guy, Gary Schneider. We're currently in the midst of the 2019 Creator Competitor Competition. We've had 2 matches in the first round so far. The winner of the first match, and I'm not surprised by the winner, is Lucha Maniacal Uberstar. There was no sort of greater promo than the promo from Lucha Maniacal Uberstar, so I'm not surprised he was able to get past the other gentleman. And of course, the second match has concluded. The big guy, Gary Schneider, is through to round 2. Congrats to the big guy. He's the host of the Power Hour that has been airing every Tuesday on Facebook. I do not know if it will continue to air on Tuesdays. We will see. I hope the program does not get away because I do enjoy listening to the Power Hour. I do not believe match 3 has been announced at the time of this recording. I do not know when Ursus will be in competition, when we'll be able to vote for Ursus. If I'm able to announce that ahead of time, I will. If not, if you guys see Ursus up, if you like the competitor, if you think it'd be cool to have a wrestling bear in the game, please vote for Ursus. And I'm going to talk about this for a second, and I'm going to try to not step on any toes here. I know when I created Ursus, I created a competitor that I thought would be cool for the game to have. I know that a lot of people, when they create competitors, they're basically in the CCC. They're basically creating themselves. They're creating a character they want to play. And so there's a danger, I feel, in that of people essentially making their competitor a referendum on themselves. And I just want to say, please do not take the CCC too seriously. Please do not feel down, feel depressed if your competitor does not get through. It is not a judgment on you personally. And I'm hoping people don't take it that way, because this should not be something that hurts the community. People should not walk away from the CCC thinking, man, people don't like me. I'm not cool. Those type of sentiments. This is not... I really don't want to hear or see people suffering because they didn't make it out of a round or did not win the CCC. Everyone that's been in the CCC so far, congratulations for even stepping up and trying. Just you putting yourself out there is a great thing. And look, just because you don't win doesn't mean your competitor won't get made down the line. There are a lot of competitors that got made. I mean, last year, the Moneymakers, they didn't win, but they still have, not only do they have a card, they have 2 cards. They've got an alt art version of their card already that's come out. So do not despair if your character does not make it through. I mean, just to talk about the character I created, Ursus. Ursus never won a round in the CCC. Never. I somehow kept getting advanced through wild cards and whatnot. Made it all the way up to essentially the second round. Had a shot. Lost. So even if you've lost, you can still get through. Don't forget about that either. But please do not take this personally. And please do not attack people personally if their competitors did not win. There's no reason for that in this game. There's no reason for anybody to take any personal shots at anybody else in the game because their creative competitor didn't win. I've heard rumors that happened. I really hope that's not the case, that people went out and basically took personal shots at the creators of competitors in the CCC. There's no place for that in the game. There's no place to be. This is games about having fun. It's about living out your wrestling fantasies. It's not about attacking other people personally. Please don't do that. And that's all I have to say about the CCC. Please, I'm asking for your vote. Vote Ursus if he comes up. I don't know who Ursus is going to face. I don't know who's out there that he's going to have to go toe-to-toe with. I was afraid of having him face the big guy. Fortunately, I dodged that in round one. I'm not familiar enough with the rest of the competitors to know if there's anybody that is well known enough that's in there. Well, that's not true. Steel Wool could give Ursus a run for his money. Plenty of other people I'm probably not thinking of. But yes, I'm asking for your vote. If Ursus comes up, please vote for him in the CCC. But that's all the CCC talk I want to have for right now. Alright, next something. Let's talk about the curse. So, I've mentioned this on previous episodes. I'll mention it again today. Gia de los Muertos is cursed. Until she wins 1,000 games in a calendar year, she will continue to be cursed. The last count I've seen released from the Gia de los Muertos-LFF page, I believe that's it. It's either LFF-Gia or Gia-LFF. I can never recall which one. But from the official Facebook page, last count I saw was just over 900. So we have about 5 weeks to get Gia to 990 wins. Now, the last 10 wins they've announced have to basically be won by Ian Kenderdon. The man many of you may know as Mike Riot, the man from Tomorrow. He's the creator of Gia de los Muertos, so he's going to have to win the last 10. But we need to help get him there to get the last 90, and the sooner we can get the last 90, the better, because that gives him more time to win the last 10. So please help break the curse. If you win a match with Gia, any match, please go to Facebook, go to the page I mentioned, the Gia de los Muertos page, and just make a post saying you won however many matches in that time period and help break the curse. In other news, we finally had a Faction Wars match. Impact versus the Rust Belt. The Phoenix Evie Fresh took on, that's Everett Stevens, took on Bob Odell. And from what I've heard, I have not seen the match. What I heard, it was a sort of a miracle play. Bob Odell wins, comes from behind. It's now tied up 2 points apiece going into the last match. The last match to see who finally wins the Faction Wars. There's been no date or time announced as to when the final match will take place. I'm assuming it's going to get streamed on the SRG Universe Twitch page. But no news about that. But congratulations to both players for putting on, from what I've heard, was a good match. And congratulations to the Rust Belt and Bob Odell for hanging in there, for staying alive, forcing a final game for all the marbles. The last thing, and I was hoping to have some news about this, is yesterday in Massachusetts, I believe it was Game King in Fall River, Massachusetts. They held a tournament to determine the number one contender for the LFF Trios Championship. I have not seen or heard any results about the tournament on Facebook. I have no news to report. I'm hoping that news comes out soon. Who will get the right to face James DeMello for the championship? But that's the big title news coming out. Hopefully that gets reported soon. Hopefully the next match of the CCC gets announced soon. Still waiting on that. As of the time of this recording, there's been no news on that. But I believe that is going to do it for our show today. If you have any questions or comments, if you'd like to leave me feedback, feel free to reach out to me. You can contact me in different ways. You can contact me on Facebook using Facebook Messenger. You can email the show. We're outlawmudcast@gmail.com. Or you can send us a direct message on Twitter. We're @outlawmudcast on Twitter. But that's going to do it for the show. I'm going to read off the list of playgroups. If you'd like to be added to the list of playgroups, let me know. And if you'd like me to stop giving a list of playgroups, let me know. I'm doing this show for you. If people are interested, I think it's a nice service to have. But if nobody cares, please let me know. But here's the list of playgroups, as far as I know, where you can play Super Show around the country. We'll go ahead and start with my own hometown, Columbus, Ohio. In Columbus, you can play games at the Guard Tower in Columbus, Ohio. We play Saturday nights at 6 p.m. usually. We didn't play this week because of War Games, and we're not playing next week because of the holiday. But normally we're playing Saturday night, 6 p.m. at the Guard Tower. To my north, in the Cleveland area, at Recess Games in North Olmsted, you will find Monday night at 6 p.m. Rust Belt Wrestling of America playing games there. If you're in that area and you're looking for a place to go, that's a great place to play. In New York, Lynbrook, New York, Restore of Fire and Dice is the home of LFF Tri-State. They play Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Many of the people that are pretty prominent in the game, John Porrino, Chris Pacillo, Dan Page, even Steve Resk will go out there and play Thursday night. So if you're in that area, you're looking for a place, that's a great group of players to get involved with. City of Champions Wrestling, which is hosting a great competitor competition December 14th, plays at Titan Game Shop in Hopewell, Pennsylvania. This is going to be the location of the CAC tournament. They normally play Saturdays or Sundays at 12. I'm not sure which day. I would check on that, but they normally play one of those 2 days. True American Heroes, as far as I know, they're still playing at Frontline Games in Clarksville, Saturdays at 6. I do not know if that is accurate. Please check if you're in the area and you're looking for a game. Florida Cardboard Wrestling plays at House Rules Gaming in Kissimmee, Florida. I do not have a date or time on them, but I know that they're still playing regularly. New Order Wrestling plays at Pandemonium in Westland, Michigan. Normally play Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. There's also a group at Destiny Games in Westland, Michigan. They play Wednesdays at 6:30. And finally, to round out Michigan, the Skull Group plays at Fanfare Comics in Kalamazoo, Michigan, the second and fourth Sunday of every month from 12 to 2 p.m. Out west, Sin City Wrestling plays at Atomic Trading in Las Vegas, Nevada, Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. In Norman, Oklahoma, at Wizards Asylum Comics and Games, Wizards Card Championship Wrestling plays every so often. They don't have a regular date and time. A lot of times they're playing Sundays around noon, but I would check with the store or the Facebook group because it's not a regular every once a week they have a game. Revolutionary Championship Wrestling, which just hosted the number one contender trios tournament, plays at 3 different places in Massachusetts. They play at New England Comics in New Bedford, Massachusetts, Wednesdays and Saturdays, Wednesdays from 3 to 6, Saturdays from 11 to 4. They play tabletop games in Westport, Massachusetts, Tuesdays from 3:30 to 6. And they play at Game King in Fall River, Massachusetts. I have Sundays from 5 to 9. They may also play at other times. I know, for example, they played at Game King yesterday, I believe, for the tournament. Island Life Wrestling plays in East End Gaming in Oakdale, New York, Wednesdays and Fridays. Outpost Wrestling plays at Outpost Games in Glendale, Arizona, Saturdays from 11 to 2. Maple People Wrestling plays out of Highlander Games in Boonton, New Jersey. Alternate Universes in Pennsylvania has 2 store locations that host games. They have a location in East Norriton, Pennsylvania, the AU Bluebell location that has games, and they have a store in Holmes, Pennsylvania, the AU Home store. They play Sundays at noon. And our newest group, Asylum Championship Card Wrestling, plays out in Georgia. They play 2 locations. Every week they play Mondays at Heroic Gaming in Roswell, Georgia, from 7 to 10 p.m. And the last Saturday of every month, they play at Gigabytes Cafe in Marietta, Georgia, starting at noon. And that is a list of play groups. And that is going to be it for our show this week. Thank you, and good day.